Third guy's a pastor at
Good evening.
Methodist Church.
Welcome to the March 23rd, 2026 meeting of the Stillwater City Council. At this time, I will call the meeting to order, and I'll ask that you all stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pretty good crowd here tonight. Thanks for being here. If you're here to speak on any of our public hearings or other agenda items, you do need to sign up. So if you're planning to speak and you haven't signed up, please head over to the table and do that.
It's me.
All right. First up tonight on proclamations, we have a proclamation recognizing Stillwater Arts Month. And I will read this proclamation, and then Megan Brazel is here from Prairie Arts Center to accept it. Whereas the arts enrich the cultural, educational, and economic vitality of the Stillwater community and contribute to a vibrant quality of life for residents and visitors alike. And whereas Stillwater is home to a thriving community of artists, performers, educators, and cultural organizations that inspire creativity, encourage innovation, and strengthen community connections. And whereas throughout the month of April, local organizations and institutions will host a variety of events and programs celebrating the arts, including visual art exhibitions, theatrical performances, live music, and community art activities. And whereas the Oklahoma State University community will contribute to the celebration through events and activities during the OSU Arts Week on campus and at the OSU Museum of Art. And whereas community arts organizations such as the Prairie Arts Center will host Stillwater Arts Festival, workshops, and collaborative art sessions to provide opportunities for all ages to participate in creative expressions. And whereas the Stillwater Public Art celebrates Stillwater Arts Month and encourages residents and visitors to explore galleries, attend performances, support local artists, and engage with creative opportunities that make our community unique. Now, therefore, I, William Joyce, Mayor of the City of Stillwater, do hereby proclaim April 2026 as Stillwater Arts Month in Stillwater. We get to have our first Stillwater Arts Festival on Block 34 this year, which is going to be lots of fun. All right, counselors, next up, item 4 is the consent docket. Questions, comments, or action on consent?
Motion to approve the consent docket?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve consent. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the consent docket is approved. Don't have anyone signed up to comment on items not scheduled for public hearing, so we will go to public hearings. Item 7A, receive public comment regarding a request for a specific use permit for property addressed at 4115 North Perkins Road to operate a chemical manufacturing facility in the Industrial General District, CC-26-46. Did we have good notice on this item?
Yes, we do.
Mr. Biebelheimer.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mayor, Councilors. My name is Henry Biebelheimer with Development Services, and we're here tonight to talk about a specific use permit to allow chemical manufacturing facilities in the General Industrial Zoning District for the property located at 4115 North Perkins Road. Here's the aerial view of the property outlined in pink. This is at the northeast corner of Perkins and Airport Road. This is going to be proposed to be on the north side of the existing Kingspan facility. And then as we can see this, not as we can see, it's not on the aerial, but to the south of this is the hub, which just recently opened on the southeast corner of Airport and Perkins. Here's the street view of the property. This is from Perkins looking east, and this is on the northern edge of that existing Kingspan facility, which is where they're proposing to build the chemical manufacturing plant, we'll call it. Here's the zoning map of the property. The property is zoned IG, or General Industrial, which is also found on the northeast, south, and west, in the General Industrial Zoning District, which is our highest intensity zoning district. It allows chemical manufacturing with a specific use permit, which is why we're before you tonight. Chemical manufacturing is not allowed by right in any of our zoning districts, so it's only allowed in the General Industrial with a specific use permit. Here's the site plan showing the Synthesia property, which is proposed to be on the north side of that Kingspan property. A very small laser pointer. Two things I'm going to point out on the site plan. The applicant can come up and give you more of a deep dive on what's being proposed where. One is the sidewalk along Perkins. This was a recommendation from both staff and planning commission to add a sidewalk for the full length of Perkins. The reason that was kind of questioned was the Synthesia is only proposing to develop the northern portion of this site. So it came into question whether that considered development of the site and whether that would require the sidewalk for the full length of the full frontage of Perkins. So that was one of the recommendations. The second was a reduction in the parking requirement. The way our code is currently written is that if you're using the use of warehouse, which is what the majority of this site is, you're allowed to do 1.5 parking spaces per employee at the largest shift, or 1 per 2,000 square foot, whichever is largest. That last bit, whichever is largest, requires the applicant to calculate it as 1 per 2,000 square foot, which means if they were to park the existing site, if they had to build a parking lot for the existing facility, it would be significantly larger than what's there right now and larger than what they need for the employees that are actually on site. So the applicant is requesting to make the parking requirement as 1.5 parking spaces per employee at the largest shift. That would be for the largest shift on both Synthesia and Kingspan, as they would be doing a shared parking facility. There are 8 parking spaces being proposed right here, and then the rest of the parking would be in this large shared facility here. Staff and planning commission are both supporting this recommendation or this request, as if more parking were to be built, it would likely be either north of or south of the existing parking facility. We think it's in the public benefit for that to remain green space. If it were, as long as there is enough parking on the site for the facility, it would be better for that to be green space and to not increase impervious area if not required. I'm open to answer any questions if you have any.
Councilors, any questions?
Talk a little bit, I think there's something in the planning committee's notes. When you hear chemical manufacturing, there's residential across the street. Talk a little bit about the chemical manufacturing and if something has been studied to ensure that that's not going to be harmful to the people that are living in that area.
Yes, ma'am. I do think the applicant might be best to answer that question. But as we can see in the zoning map, we do have this residential neighbor to the northwest of the property. This is community space on this corner right here, which meant the HOA was part of that 300-foot mailing notice that was sent out.
Okay. And there was no comment at planning commission from any of the HOA?
No, ma'am. And we haven't received any on the staff side either.
If there is something that the applicant can speak to in terms of that would be great.
Yes, ma'am. And the applicant is present.
Good.
Other questions for staff at this point? Thank you, Henry. This time I will open the public hearing and I'll ask the representative for the applicant to come forward.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. Stephen Gose with Gose & Associates, 113 East 8th Avenue. Here on behalf of our client Synthesia and the property owner Kingspan Roofing, seeking approval of this specific use permit that Henry went over with Planning Commission's recommendations for both the approval of it, the parking reduction, and that sidewalk along 6th Avenue. Synthesia, just real quick, was founded in 1964. They were purchased by Kingspan in 2018. So Kingspan's the parent company. Both Synthesia and Kingspan Roofing and Waterproofing are owned by the same entities. They employ over 300 people and have 3 production sites in Spain, France, and Panama. And their primary focus is the production of polyester polyols, which is a base ingredient in the foam insulated boards that Kingspan Roofing and Waterproofing makes, as well as some other companies use them for adhesives and things. So one of their deals is environmental and energy conservation. So the primary ingredient into what they're producing is recycled PET or polyester. A lot of them are water bottles, Coke bottles, and stuff like that. They kind of pioneered that in their industry, and it actually has a better fire rating resistance for those foams than some of their competitors. And based on the information they gave us, since 2024, they've used the equivalent of 1 billion plastic water bottles and soda bottles in their production. So it's a glycolysis process. So fairly low heat for manufacturing like this. They said to about 280 degrees. They've got thermal oil boilers on site. They'll start adding the ingredients into these vats and what they're calling a reactor tower. And so it's all gravity fed. So they add the polyester, they add some base acids and things like that. The glycolysis creates water and other things. So the off gases are some low concentration VOCs, and there's water, there's waste that goes through a filter process. The solid waste is all inert material and can go to the landfill. The water that comes off of it is held on tanks on site and taken off site for treatment. So it will not be discharged into the city's system. They're working with a consultant to process the air permits and other environmental permits through the state right now, and they don't anticipate having any issues with those. I don't know if we can get, I'm gonna mess this up, Henry. How do I get to the site plan? Yeah. So this site plan, if they can pull it up, may be a little easier to see. So this is, start driving other people's cars, you get lost. So this is on the north 270 feet of the Kingspan property. We're proposing one driveway onto Perkins Road. There'll be a little gatehouse. And then what you see, I know the cursor's not gonna really show up, but the first phase of the building will be this eastern half of what looks like two big warehouses and the truck dock parking. What we're calling the reactor towers that have the vessels in them are on the east side. There'll be 3 of them ultimately. It's a 3-phase project. The second and third phases are just additional capacity and the western warehouse. But those towers are 95 feet tall. As a point of reference, there's a product tower out at Kingspan right now that's 103 feet tall. Based on the research I could do, the mill towers are about 110 feet tall, along with the stair towers at Boone Pickens Stadium. So just as a point of reference, the reactor towers will be less. There are 3 tank farms to the east for each of the 3 phases on this, and the tallest tower there is 40 feet tall. So one driveway off of Perkins Road, circular flow through the site, sharing the north fire lane with Kingspan. Just trying to make sure I cover everything. Henry covered the parking pretty well with that reduction. The building is going to have 2 roof heights. There's going to be a 2-story piece for some of the manufacturing, as well as there'll be a 2-story office within the building, and then the rest of it's probably a 22 foot roof height for just storage of all the dry materials. Our client has prepared a sound study that was in the submittal packet, and that shows really the loudest noise generator that's out here are the truck traffic. Everything else is relatively quiet, and those towers are going to be skinned to protect sound, light, as well as the weather for the employees, because their primary towers in Barcelona don't have the weather we have here. Sorry, and the extreme swings that we have. Construction, they're planning on starting this summer with the groundwork. We should be submitting for an earthwork permit in the next couple of weeks. Lambert Construction was selected last week as the general contractor for this, so they're trying to keep it as local as possible. With phase 1, 90% of the output will go to the Kingspan facility here and a site they have in Little Rock. And then when phases 2 and 3 come online, phase 3 will require rail service, so they're working with Kingspan right now to get that, and that will be where most of their products come in and out, is on the rail. So if there's any questions I can answer now or later on.
Stephen, you mentioned truck traffic. Could you
Yes.
talk a little bit about about what what the expectation is for that traffic?
So their expectation for phase 1 and into phase 2 is really 2 trucks a day coming in and off of Perkins Road. So, and then again, phase 3 requires the rail just to get the production volume they need. So as much of that traffic as possible will go to that.
Is there a traffic study necessary for this on Perkins Road with the curb cut?
Not based on what we found. It's not going to generate the 100 peak hour trips or 1,000 a day. And they are at full build out. They'll have 27 employees working in 3 shifts. So probably, 12 to 18 person shifts. So
This might be a question for staff, but I'll ask you anyway.
okay.
So we've got to do an SUP here because it's a chemical manufacturing plant.
Correct.
Are the issues of the tower height, would those be allowed by right if it wasn't if an SUP wasn't required because of the chemical manufacturing facility?
Well, as far as I can tell, what's going on at Kingspan, they haven't had an SUP, and theirs is an ingredient. Those are ingredient towers. They're getting that stuff shipped in, and it goes into the production of what they're doing because this is producing a chemical that can be shipped off site. We had a lot of discussions with staff of, do we need to do the SUP, do we not? But it doesn't have anything to do with the towers.
Oh, right, okay.
And the towers, too, they've made preliminary submittals to the FAA for clearances on the towers. But again, they're shorter than what's out there now.
Okay.
So
And you did mention that there are state and I assume some federal permits that are required around the air and discharge and all of the environmental protection that has to be.
yeah, and they've got a consultant working on that
So approval of the SUP doesn't give them approval
to build it.
to
No.
build it. They still got to go get
Yeah.
environmental approvals from the state.
Yeah. And Henry.
So neighbors usually look at 3 things: sight, sound, and smell. You talked about the sight, so you're going to put a wall around this tower. The sound you've addressed. What about the smell?
So the smell, they say it's low, the low VOC, they smell it, they say it smells like just a polyester resin, real low output. And if we can pull this up more on the site of it, there's a rendering of what it'll look like. This is with the first tower and not the second warehouse, but there'll just be 3 of those towers.
And the emission will come from the top of the tower.
Yes. If we keep it up, there's a cross section in here. That's kind of what, if you took a slice through the middle of it for perspective.
And again, we won't see the equipment inside the tower.
No, it'll all be behind a skin.
Okay.
Further questions? Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you.
I don't have anyone else signed up for public hearing tonight. If you were planning to speak on this item, let me know. Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Henry, what was the Planning Commission's recommendation on this?
Yes, sir. And I can confirm there is no height limitations in IG, so with or without the specific use permit, the height would have no restrictions. On March 3rd, 2026, Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend that the City Council approve the proposed specific use permit subject to the following conditions: construction of a 6-foot sidewalk for the full parcel length along Perkins Road frontage, and the parking requirement being based on 1.5 parking spaces per employee on the largest working shift.
Thanks, Henry. Councilors?
Move to accept planning commission recommendation, including the 2 conditions.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. The item is approved with a vote of 5-0. Item 7B, receive public comment regarding a text amendment to the Stillwater City Code, Chapter 23, Land Development Code, Article 6, Land Use Classifications, Division 4, Commercial Districts, Section 23-152, CB Commercial Business District, repealing all ordinances to the contrary and providing for severability. CC-26-47. Did we have good notice on this item?
Yes, we do.
Henry?
Yes, sir. So this is a text amendment to allow vehicle sales in the commercial business or CB zoning district with a specific use permit in those sections as you listed. So first, I just wanted to go over the definition of vehicle equipment sales, rental, and service, which is the use that we would be allowing by specific use permit. So I'll just read that definition real quick so we know what we're talking about. It means the establishments primarily engaged in the sale or rental of personal or commercial vehicles and equipment, and which includes incidental maintenance and repair facilities and establishments that sell, install, and service vehicle equipment and parts, including body repairs and painting. So that is what is being proposed to be allowed with a specific use permit in the CB or commercial business zoning district. Now, the CB zoning district, when I think of that district, I think of our downtown area. It does expand further than just that main downtown area south of 6th, so it'll go east and west along 6th as well as further south along Main. So that's the zoning district that we're looking at allowing it with a specific use permit. Whenever we were looking at the existing CB zoning district, we found 5 properties that are currently operating as vehicle equipment sales, rental, and service. So this would bring them a path towards compliance. Would not require them to. If you're an existing use, so you would be allowed to remain. You wouldn't be required to go get a specific use permit. But if you were wanting to expand or to move locations and stay in the same zoning district, this would allow you to do so. Additionally, it allows City Council to add in those appropriate safeguards, because vehicle equipment sales, rental, and service is not appropriate in all of our downtown area. Like, you don't want something right on Main Street, primarily because one of the key things of the CB zoning district is that there's a reduction in the parking requirement because you're able to use the public parking that's provided in the area. That becomes a lot more tricky whenever you're doing something like vehicle repair. So this allows it to be allowed in certain areas with the appropriate safeguards that City Council would be able to approve on a case-by-case basis. I'm open to answer any questions if you have any.
Counselors?
Just curiously, one quick question. If one of these existing businesses were to transfer ownership, would they then have to apply for an SUP?
It would not. I believe you would still be considered illegally non-conforming as long as the use remains consistent.
Okay.
If the use stops for, it's either 3 or 6 months, then you're required to come into compliance. But if you transfer ownership and it continues, it would be allowed to continue.
So you mentioned that you identified 5 current businesses that are legally non-conforming
Yes, sir.
within this district. Okay. So and that I would assume are mainly service rather than sales. I can't think of any car lot
Mm-hmm.
kind
I
of places.
think there was one vehicle sales, which was west on 6th, if I remember right. It was like a used car.
Our trucks for sale.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So these are, I mean, we're doing this now. They don't technically have the right to do it. And if they wanted to move or expand at all, they'd have to do this. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Can you clarify are there limitations, you said, by the discretion of council when we approve these things, right? Are there factors that we can consider or can't consider? Because I mean, I would think if we did get an application for somebody who wanted to build a massive car lot on Main Street, we would be able to talk about things like traffic and size and lights and all that kind of stuff. Are there any of those factors things that we wouldn't be able to consider?
The code, I don't have that paragraph in the presentation, but it is a pretty broad paragraph that says what City Council is allowed to put conditions on. Basically, anything that pertains to the use, City Council is allowed to make a condition of approval. So I think you do have pretty broad authority to add in limitations.
Or
maybe
to
not
deny it
limitations.
altogether?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Councilors, further questions for staff? Seeing none, I will open the public hearing. I don't have anyone signed up for this item. Was anybody here to talk about this item? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Henry, what's the recommendation on this item?
Yes, sir. On February 24th, 2026, Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend the City Council approve the proposed text amendment as presented.
Thank you, Henry. Councilors?
Motion to accept Planning Commission's recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. That item passes with a vote of 5-0. Item 8A, under general orders, is wildfire presentation 1 year later. And Don Dodson will kick this one off.
Good evening, Mayor and councilors. In March 2025, wildfires swept through our community, and there were 4 large active fires in Payne County, located in Uchi Valley, North and South Harmony. All 3 of those areas are on the eastern side of Payne County, and then on the western side of Payne County, Stillwater. All of these desperately needing the same local resources and mutual aid support. In the state, there were 1,043 properties impacted, with 539 homes destroyed. In Payne County alone, 229 were impacted and 180 destroyed. And in our community, 223 properties were impacted and 98 families and friends lost their homes. In Stillwater, there were 0 deaths and minimal injuries. Unprecedented and historic fire weather conditions served as fuel for embers to ignite multiple pop-up fires, and the winds ensured they were continuous. One of our firefighters described it as a war zone. It was sudden, powerful, and devastating. Yet the aftermath revealed even more strength, compassion, and resiliency of our Stillwater community. The emergency response and recovery efforts were not limited to one department, but to the entire city as a whole. 1 year later, our community continues to support each other, rebuild, mitigate against potential future fires, and some are establishing their new normal. 55 homes in the city limits were burned. 34 of those have single-family residence permits for rebuilding. 17 of the 55 have demolition permits but have not yet started rebuilding, and 4 homes have no permits for demo or rebuilding. At the city, we have identified areas for improvement in effort to serve our community more effectively, safely, and utilizing better tools and methods. During the wildfire crisis and those days following, we had more than 42,000 interactions with a reach of more than 5 million on the SEMA Facebook account alone. The wildfire response tested every communication system we had and revealed systems that we needed. Strategic improvements were made to ensure that notifications are accurate and swift. In fast-moving events like wildfires, minutes matter. Redundancy is essential. We must layer notifications across multiple platforms, including social media, website, and alerts. Notifications must include clear visual maps with details when at all possible. Since that time, we have created a unified social media communications, invested in social media platform manager to have the ability to post simultaneously across all city accounts. This helps eliminate delays and ensures consistent messaging. This platform allows us to have an even greater reach and include simultaneous messaging across all emergency response accounts and the city, including SEMA, police, fire, and animal welfare. During a crisis, there is little time to post individually on multiple department pages and social media accounts. Now, one message can go live on every city-affiliated platform instantly. This ensures no lag between information and reduces the risk of conflicting alerts. But social media is only part of the equation. We developed a webpage for emergencies at stillwaterok.gov/emergency. It serves as a single source of truth and the central hub. Real-time updates are provided with maps, instructions, and important information. It will be used during emergencies and afterwards to include guidance. It reduces confusion and increases transparency. We actually utilize this with the severe winter weather we recently experienced. Also with Mid-South, we had the page ready with preset information in case we needed to update and utilize it. And thankfully, it was not needed, and the event was an even greater success than ever before. At this time, I'm going to tag in Rob Hill so he can share some information about mapping, alerts, and more.
Good evening. In a disaster situation, emergency management is tasked with multiple tasks, but 2 primary tasks. One is supporting public safety in the city of Stillwater as a city government, and 2, supporting the community, ensuring the safety of the community as well. And one of the things that we identified that we needed the most was something that would allow us to track our resources and allow us to see where an actual incident is occurring, but also relay that same information to the community. And so we took a deep dive and we looked for something, and with Aaron Kelly's help out of our IT department, we come up with a digital mapping capability through ArcGIS. ArcGIS mapping gives us the ability to geofence and real-time mapping information. Allows for public safety mapping systems to track resources and event locations. It allows for community dashboard that shows event locations, threat areas, areas to avoid, and areas of concern. It also identifies evacuation zones, shows road closures, shows ingress and egress routes, shelter locations, and evacuation sites. Recently used during this winter weather, we implemented a digital mapping feature, and this allowed us to visually mark areas of concern within town. During our recent winter weather event, we used it to show impacted areas and road conditions that we manually updated daily from reports from Public Works and the Police Department. In a wildfire scenario, this tool allows us to designate evacuation zones quickly and clearly. Visual information reduces panic and helps residents make informed decisions faster. And we prepared for what happens if technology fails. This is Plan B. Markers and laminated maps. And believe it or not, Dawn was recently in Enid when we had a threat of wildfires, and a lot of the counterparts that she was sitting with saw this so that she could track if we had something happen, and asked if they could duplicate it for their communities. So we're not alone in this. So redundancy, Plan B, right? Dry erase markers and maps. In a fast-moving event, connectivity can be compromised, power can be disrupted, and systems can slow down. So we created a low-tech backup, dry erase emergency maps. We mark the evacuation lines, road closures, fire movement on the map, take a picture, and post it quickly. This is simple, not flashy, but will work until we can get Plan A back in place. In addition, we seeked a counter component. And we are implementing IPAWS, the Integrated Public Alert Warning System, which functions similarly to an Amber Alert, a Silver Alert, or a Blue Alert. Many residents are already familiar with RAVE alerts, where individuals can sign up to receive notifications by text, phone call, or email. Residents can opt in at stillwaterok.gov/be informed. IPAWS is different. It does not require residents to sign up. In a major emergency such as a wildfire threat, alerts can be sent directly to a cellular device in the affected area through geofencing. This allows us to reach people immediately, even if they are not signed up for our local notification system. Once we receive final FEMA approval, our team will begin training and implementing the IPAWS system. Unfortunately, FEMA is currently on a government shutdown, which has slowed our progress in implementing this process. All of these improvements are part of a much larger effort to strengthen our preparedness for disaster preparedness and readiness for the community and, for public safety across our community. In addition, the city has met with many different groups from around the state of Oklahoma, and state assistance with red cedar eradication is taking place. We partnered with the Oklahoma Conservation Commission and Director Trampa's trip to support wildfire mitigation efforts in our area. Through partnerships, residents have been able to volunteer and participate in mitigation services designed to reduce wildfire risk. The invasive woody species cost share program closed its application period on December 1st, 2025. In Payne County, 21 applications were approved, resulting in 1,657 acres of cedar removal currently underway throughout the county. One of the current project areas is near 19th Avenue and Country Club. Prescribed fire is also becoming more widely used in Payne County, with approximately 1,800 acres completed or planned for fiscal year 2026. The Wildfire Mitigation Brush-Free Zone program focuses on creating defensible space around the perimeter of the city to help prevent wildfire from spreading into populated areas. Another important part of this effort is the leadership we have in place. Since the wildfires, Stillwater has welcomed two outstanding public safety leaders, Police Chief Chris Hassig and Fire Chief Dwayne Helmberger. Chief Helmberger will now share more about the mitigation work and training happening within the fire department.
Councilors, thank you for having us. During this event, I wasn't here with the city of Stillwater, but I did live here in this town. And many of my friends on this department that I've grown to know and love took part in the efforts on that day. The information they provided me in the time I've been here has been great in helping us improve and continue to strengthen our abilities for the Stillwater Fire Department and the community. After the event, we conducted a comprehensive after-action review with the entire team, identifying areas of success and areas for improvement. We're focusing on community education and awareness, using both social media campaigns and in-person events to engage residents. Within the department, we are enhancing training programs and implementing what we've learned to better respond during crises, including enhancing our SOGs, Standard Operating Guidelines. Mitigation efforts also involving infrastructure planning, such as ensuring sufficient water storage and hydrant access, optimizing administrative roles, and maintaining equipment readiness, including the addition to 2 additional brush trucks with a total of 6 now in tow. Water nozzles on the front and rear of these trucks allow the driver to spray water and fight fire, as the firefighters in the back are doing the same. They have higher ground clearance and a more rugged frame, and they are designed specifically for wildland and grass firefighting capabilities. These units also come with headphones for the firefighters in the back, so we no longer have to just yell through the window as we're fighting fire. Working with the Oklahoma Forestry, SFD was able to identify 6 to 10 city properties for mitigation efforts, to include land clearing and prescribed burns and enhanced wildland firefighting. We're also helping community members with mitigation efforts, such as controlled burns, brush removal education, and practical tips for their homes and properties. For example, some homes that were affected in March had fire spreading from the privacy fences to the side of the house or the roof. We worked with HOAs and showing the importance of metal fencing closer to your home to help with non-combustion. During the wildfire response, most communications in the field relied on cell phones, since the new radio system was not yet in place. With the new digital radio system, communications are more reliable and prevent overlapping transmissions. Approximately 28,000 acres burned from McElroy to 80th Avenue and Highway 86 to Western Avenue. We had more than 120 firefighters respond, many of them working 2, 3, and even 4 days straight. And they never wavered to do what was needed. I'm incredibly proud of our team and deeply appreciative of their dedication to protecting our community. I will now turn it over to Police Chief Chris Hassig, who will share more about what the Stillwater Police Department experienced and dealt with during this extreme event.
Mayor, councilors, at the time of the wildfires, I was still in Houston and not officially within my role, or starting my role with the Stillwater Police Department. On a personal level, on this day, Friday, I don't know if I've ever felt more helpless being 500 miles away with a city that my family and I had just visited less than 2 weeks prior and was beginning to fall in love with, beginning to look for a house, and paying attention via text messages and phone calls with my soon-to-be new leadership, as well as the social media sites, and just seeing the area of the fires expand. It was truly a pit in my stomach, and I was not even here. So I can't imagine what my officers felt that day. I am very proud of my team, who immediately stepped in to assist with evacuations and support the community. Stillwater Police Department did door-to-door evacuations and collaborated with OSU to provide transportation and safe passage for residents affected by the fires. Officers secured perimeters, initiated curfews, and assisted with damage assessments. They also provided routine patrols to prevent looting, all in the face of a few of the officers losing their homes during this time while they were actively assisting the community. A few statistics to provide, but for calls for service on that Friday, March 14th, from midnight to 11:59 p.m., we had 354 calls for service. There were 1,277 calls made or received in dispatch. Comes out to a little over 53 an hour. Yeah. Perhaps in Houston that would have been a drop in the bucket, but coming and living here in Stillwater, 53 in an hour is something. As far as wildfire calls, that Friday from 1 p.m. to midnight, we received more than 160 911 calls in that first hour alone. 650 calls were made on the business line. Truly something that our dispatchers had never experienced before, but they handled it with amazing professionalism and grace. And for that, I am beyond appreciative. I also want to ensure we acknowledge and honor all who responded, not only those who fought wildfires and helped get people to safety, but also those who served in the immediate and long-term aftermath, assisting residents with devastation. At this time, I'm going to invite Ruth Cavins, Executive Director of United Way of Payne County, to join us. She helped lead with Vice Mayor Jalowski and others with Stillwater Strong Relief.
Hello. So there were many efforts to provide resources to our community members directly after the wildfires. Vice Mayor Jalowski, Rachel Conley, Carolyn Walstead, Becky Taylor, and many staff members and countless volunteers established a relief and resource area at the Armory. Due to the generosity of many, it was a central hub for immediate support and much needed basic essentials. The resources continued for weeks afterwards at Our Daily Bread. United Way of Payne County developed the Stillwater Strong Relief Fund to assist with mid and long-term recovery challenges. This included an application and review process focused on helping those affected. A tremendous amount of time went into making sure this process was clear, accountable, and responsive to the needs. In addition to the local relief funds, we also work closely with partners to help residents and businesses connect directly with FEMA and the Small Business Administration. FEMA and SBA provided one-on-one application assistance. These opportunities were hosted at the Community Center with the help of Stephanie Kinder and Barbara Bliss, and then at Meridian Technology Center thanks to Dr. Doug Major and his team, making sure people had access to guidance and applications during what was an incredibly stressful time. Overall, about $6.3 million in financial assistance were distributed to families. The numbers on the slide represent more than dollars. They represent people coming together to support one another and help Stillwater recover. United Way of Payne County collected a total of $568,798 in monetary donations for the Stillwater Strong Relief Fund from approximately 1,600 donors across 46 different states and 3 other countries. Dollars were coming in from everywhere. Because the Mid-South was happening the weekend of the fires, participants and vendors went back home and had rides and fundraisers to raise money, reaching a total of $55,363. Some of the top contributors to the Stillwater Strong Relief included Bank First at $50,000, Wyatt Flores at $47,000, the Walmart Foundation at $25,000, Simmons Bank at $10,000, and Mason Rudolph at $10,000. By the end of August, 100% of this money had been distributed to 83 Stillwater households. This experience showed us that in difficult moments, Stillwater shows up for one another. I'm incredibly grateful to be part of a community that cares so deeply.
This just shows a glimpse of what we experienced at that time and everyone who immediately jumped in to help in some capacity. But 1 year later, we're stronger. Every emergency will teach us something new. We evaluate, we adjust, and we improve. When we know better, we do better. Public safety and trust will always remain our priority. If you have any questions of us, we'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, Dawn, and thank you to everyone for the updates tonight. I know this is not why you're here, but before we ask questions, I would like to take a second just to thank you all for the work. I mean, those of you here and representing the teams that you represent, certainly our firefighters, our first responders, our police department, all of those folks that were doing the work that we just saw and heard about. It is a year later difficult to put into words how much we appreciate the work that your all's teams did, and our community, the folks. I mean, it's just it's overwhelming to really think about what people did for each other in those days and weeks after the fire. So thank you so much for the work that you have all done to help Stillwater recover from this tragedy. With that said, counselors, questions about response, about follow-ups, about improvements? Anything we've heard tonight?
I don't have a question, but I would just say I also remember that Saturday morning after they had the press conference and they said that there were going to be supplies at the armory. I'd run to Walmart to get some things, and I pulled up and there was a line of cars dropping off things. And so in addition to the thank you to all of our first responders, our emergency management, our city manager's office, just a big thank you to the community of Stillwater, because I think we, as a community, had so many people step up and contribute and try to help others.
Just to add to that, so there were many of us that were up all night. And then when we, the governor came in, which great elected officials, Senator Hall, we had so many that just immediately jumped in. But County Commissioner Seth Conley stayed with us all night. But then we sent a text to our citywide communications team, the folks at Payne County, SMC, SPS, OSU, our Visit, Chamber. We have a vast group that we've been meeting together for about 4 years. And I sent an all call about the press conference. They came in here. So everyone's going through this. And at the end of the day, going to that armory and just seeing the hugs, it hit differently. I think we needed that.
I do also really appreciate the thought that's been put into kind of the response and thinking about where there are opportunities to fortify our communications and our ability to talk with our community about what's going on. I know on social media, and we have a lot of friends that were impacted by the fires, just there. I think that brings a lot of comfort to people, knowing that we've kind of strengthened those systems and have the ability to kind of to pinpoint our communications and just talk to the community more directly about and specifically about where those emergencies are happening. I appreciate the work and the time and the thoughtfulness that's been put in by staff on those things. It's so important not only to see that kind of emergent response at the beginning, but to really look back and think, where do we need to strengthen now that we have the time to think about it and to make those changes. So I appreciate that as well. It was just so remarkable to see our community come together. So many people to thank, from people in the community that brought their therapy dogs. Grand was there helping from a mental health perspective, and just countless and countless numbers of friends and people coming. I think also the ability to have the Armory as a location for families to receive resources and support in person, and then be able to gather together as people that had been impacted by the fires to talk to their friends and neighbors and check on them was maybe not the intention of the Armory to begin with, but I think provided that service as well. So thank you again to everyone.
Thank you. Item 8B, presentation and discussion of a proposed improvement project for Strickland Park ball fields, including the current status of Strickland Park ball fields, a current needs assessment and discussion of the needed improvements for the complex and continued and expanded use of a sports facility capable of hosting large-scale tournaments, and discussion of economic impact brought by current and expanded use of Strickland Park ball fields. Man, a lawyer wrote this, didn't they? Goodness. And a report to City Council on the Tourism Advisory Committee recommendation to SEDA to authorize the use of funds from Visitor Amenities Fund for the improvement project and the purpose of development and maintenance of visitor development amenities in the city. That's a lot of words.
That was just part one.
Christy.
That is a hard act to follow with that presentation. So I am doing this up here tonight with support of my friends. In the audience, you'll find Carolyn Wallstad, who is the Stillwater Area Sports Association, also known as SASA Executive Director, and Barbara Bliss, our Parks and Community Resources Director. So if there are any questions this evening, you will see me quietly sit down while they come up to the podium to help a person out. As we go through this, we are talking tonight about Strickland Park. You can see a current image of Strickland up here. So a little bit about SASA. SASA is a nonprofit organization devoted to providing league sports to youth and adults of Stillwater and our surrounding areas. SASA reached out to the city specifically to discuss improvements that needed to occur during rain outs of their tournaments and the impact that this has on their ability to schedule and pull in teams that are interested in committing. With current all-grass fields, the likelihood of a negative impact due to Oklahoma weather is high. Numerous rainouts occurred during the 2025 season, which I'll touch on more information in just a minute. But when faced with an all-grass option or a turf infield option, parents and coaches are much more likely to select turf. This helps to guarantee that their hotel reservations and tournament fees won't be lost with rain. One thing is clear, people want to play in Stillwater. They enjoy this town, and this is a place they want to select. This renovation we're discussing tonight includes turf infields, and that could be the positive deciding factor when selecting which tournament to enter. These upgrades will give our players safer, top-quality fields and enhance the experience for families and volunteers, and better position Stillwater as a premier destination for youth tournaments across the region. Part of what we need to answer this evening is why Strickland? There are a few of the reasons on the board. But when we first started conversations with SASA, they talked about the need for the infields and the turf. When we said why Strickland, and it started becoming more and more clear about what we wanted to do to make Strickland from playable to a great experience, that's when this proposal really blossomed. So we wanted to take Strickland from, yes, we could register, to absolutely first choice in registrations. Strickland was chosen as the first step in a larger conversation about Stillwater sports complexes. It's completely out of the floodplain and the floodway. It's easily accessible and centralized, and it offers great flexibility for our youth sports. Strickland Park currently hosts the highest number of out-of-town teams, and this investment in a high-quality recreational space, both by enhancing what we have and creating new opportunities, is essential to Stillwater's continued growth. This renovation can improve quality of life for our residents, attract visitors, and allow us to host major events in spite of tricky Oklahoma weather. This brings lasting economic and community benefits. There's a direct connection between reliable facilities and economic return. This is one piece of a growing plan to reinvest in our community spaces, both current and potential new areas. We're going to start off with an image of what turf could be for the fields at Strickland. Then we'll move on to some current concerns with the complex. This model shows 2 baseball and 2 softball fields. They will allow play for either on any of the fields because there are removable mounds that can be added and moved for our baseball players. So when we look at infield turf and outfield drainage considerations, most cancellations previously were due to the condition of the infield. And so under this proposal, we can see installation of an infield drainage system, pivot by Tenkate Turf, and of course, a GeoCool cooling agent, because we know that would best address major safety concerns with playing on turf in Oklahoma suns when it's not raining. Part of the proposal this evening also addresses our fencing. So the fence would include new backstop and fencing with a padded backstop wall. This removes some of the sharp components of traditional chain link, also enhancing safety and play experience. Let's get into the not so great current. This is a picture last year of the infield, which caused cancellations. You can see that there is some rain standing in the outfield, but part of this will also address the drainage under the infield and look at drainage for the park in its entirety. And the outfield, a little bit of standing water is not what drives our cancellations. It's not an uncommon feature in some of our Oklahoma. It's that infield that makes it not playable. This next picture, you can see the fencing that we just described, and you can also see lights, several of which are out. These are older light systems, and the bulbs are becoming extremely difficult and very expensive to replace. So included under the proposal are LED lighting, which will illuminate all 4 fields for a much safer and better play. It also helps light the remainder of the complex for safety after games, while everybody's still exiting parking lots and visibility. This is the inside of the restrooms and the concessions. This drives back to the conversation about why Strickland and why the full proposal that you're going to see this evening is because gameplay is just one part of it. We have a lot of fans in the stands, and their enjoyment is also what drives the return factor. If you want to book and your child has an amazing experience on the field, but you do not have amazing experience in the stands, you are also, we're negatively impacted with that as well. So all components of a complex add to the experience, the desire, and the enjoyment for a future. So we will be working through pricing and standard bidding to the renovations for the concession and the restroom and some other pieces of the ball complex. Our next slide presents, you can see the youth leagues currently for SASA in 2025. That top line says youth baseball and softball, 106 teams, which drives over 1,000 participants. You can see out-of-town teams is 34 teams from surrounding towns, equating to about 340 additional youth. The bottom part of the slide talks about tournaments in 2025, which we're calling our problem, because you can see on here, Carolyn has designated multiple times that rainouts occurred. And you can see the impact to the participants or how many were already registered and were not able to play in Stillwater due to field conditions. And so when we look about this creates that negative conversation around Stillwater as a hosting site. With the movement to turf infields, this flips the conversation back to a level playing field, literally speaking, and then drives home the conversation about Stillwater not only being a best destination of choice, but a reliable, smart decision too. When given the opportunity, Stillwater with renovations, turf infields, enhanced lighting, and fencing, it will become a premier booking location not only for the field conditions, but for all that our community offers. I want to spend a moment on this next slide. This is SASA developed these estimates. They're very conservative numbers. The most important piece is to note that the negative impacts of the rainouts which occurred in 2025. You can see that in 2023, the estimated sales tax that we received due to hosting was $60,000. In 2024, that jumped to 113 based on approximate visitor spend due to the tournaments. And in 2025, due to the cancellations, we had our lowest of 53,000. And so when we look at this, we also visited, SASA works with Visit Stillwater as they look at recognizing the economic loss to the community when visitors don't attend and the impact that that has on weather for our scheduled tournaments. When we look at conservative dollars represented in SASA or a more detailed, one thing is clear. Our community benefits from scheduled tournaments, minimization of rainouts, and updated facilities. Dollars expended from the visitor's amenity piece of the visitor tax should result in clear return and increases in investment. This slide demonstrates the impact of positive play on our businesses and community members of Stillwater. The cost of the proposal is shown on this slide here. As mentioned, the infield turf, the field fencing, and the lighting and the pitching mounds. There is some additional upgrades to the shade structures, dugout extensions and upgrades, concession and restroom renovation, and an included contingency. And we'll pause back here for the picture again so that you can just see the infield turf pieces. It doesn't show any of the other rendering pieces, but we plan to make them an enjoyable experience for all. I am happy to pause here for any questions of myself or for Carolyn or Barbara.
Councilors, questions?
You showed the 4% sales tax that we could get or had missed due to rainouts. Does that include, as I recall from my softball playing days, that tournaments were multi-day tournaments and people often stayed overnight? Does this include any of the lodging tax?
So we have a couple of different sets of numbers. This is based on Carolyn's, and this is a very conservative that is directly related. We also have numbers from Visit Stillwater that do include lodging that are much higher than shown on the slide. We went with the lowest impact just to show the minimum. But yes, Visit Stillwater did detailed numbers for us, and it's a much more significant impact than shown on this slide when that's taken into consideration.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So one question. With the turf on the infield, yes, I understand. Are you going to work on the grading of the outfield so they drain better than what we saw in the picture there?
Mm-hmm. The infield turf will come with a drainage component built in, which also will just help the field immensely in that form. And then we're also looking at improved drainage and other concrete pieces.
I've got to ask, what's this cooling stuff that you're putting in? I've never heard of this before.
Carolyn.
It's the turf, it's the new and improved turf.
They snuck up on me.
It's kind of the new and improved turf. It doesn't actually have all the beads. It's a grass base. So it's a lining coolant underneath that they use as a base to allow, but a lot of the heat came from the black beads on the turf, and this does not have any of the beads. It's the new and improved turf.
That means they won't end up all over my car.
Correct. They will not.
I had this image of geothermal cooling.
I don't think that's exactly the image, yes.
It's their terminology, but it's much more boring than it sounds.
I just want to ask in general, I think this is fantastic. I want us to do this to all of our fields. I would like for us to be able to build a complex with more than just 4 fields in it. Is there any concern that using this money now on these 4 fields slows us down from the capability of getting to a place where we could spend 10, 15, 20 million dollars on a bigger complex that is really something that we'd need?
When we look at a funding source for this here and now and how it will replenish in just the visitor sales tax piece, we need to expend some dollars that we currently have and deploy those in order to get those increased returns, because you can see the harm that we're impacting. When we look at our long-term plan, we have some additional funding sources coming in the future that is firmly dedicated to our parks maintenance and amenities. And so we are trying to look at both a short-term plan and a long-term plan. And we believe that this is one piece that not only fits now, but it fits into a larger comprehensive plan that we're trying to build for the future.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I would add, not touching my mic, remind me, please. I would add, Mayor, when we were, when the visitor amenities, Tourism Advisory Committee was meeting, there was some discussion amongst the committee about that as well. I think where we landed as a committee was that we have some work to do to ensure that Stillwater doesn't fall off the radar for tournament schedules. There are so many communities, as a former softball mom, there are so many communities that are making these types of investments in, really great facilities. Also, as a softball mom, I know that those communities don't have near the visitor attractions and amenities that Stillwater could offer. I think most people would love to come to a community like Stillwater, but at the end of the day, if we can't end up having the tournaments because of these rainouts, they'll start using and going to those other communities. They'll get on the
on the schedules, those will become the tournaments of choice, and Stillwater will have a hard time kind of catching up in the meantime.
This is an important first step.
Good point.
And just as another point, when we increased the lodging tax several years back, part of that deal was that I think Visit Stillwater got 70% and the city got 30%, and this is being paid for out of the 30% that the city received, correct?
Correct.
It's not exactly how it's worded. I could see city attorney over there.
It's approximately close.
But you're correct that there is a use of funds section in that ordinance where 70% of it is dedicated to destination professional marketing services, and 30% is for the development of visitor amenities in the city. And so that is why it was an appropriate item to take to the Tourism Advisory Committee, because they have a responsibility to review those things and make recommendations to SEDA in terms of how those dollars should be spent. And so I think we list on here just as a report. I don't know if you really touched on that, but they did present it to the Tourism Advisory Committee, who did make a recommendation to SEDA to allow use of the funds as it's been presented this evening, and that's on for consideration on the SEDA agenda this evening.
I was paraphrasing.
And I do have a recommended motion when we move to the next item, but I believe there's action on SEDA first.
Yeah, any further questions for staff at this point about the project in general? Okay, well, because we do have to take action as SEDA to move the money in the first place, if we're going to do anything with it at all, at this time I will move that we recess the city council prior to item 8C.
Second.
With a motion and a second to recess the city council, please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the city council will now be in recess, and while we are, I will call to order the Stillwater Economic Development Authority meeting for March 23rd, 2026. On the consent docket, there are two items, the minutes from our last meeting and a budget amendment that would transfer these funds from the SEDA Visitor Amenity Fund to the City General Fund, so that then we can make a decision as a city council on how we want to spend them. So, trustees, questions, comments, or action on the consent docket?
I move approval of consent.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent docket. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, that consent docket is approved. There is nothing else on the SEDA agenda for tonight. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn SEDA. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the Stillwater Economic Development Authority meeting is now adjourned. And at this time, I will reconvene the Stillwater City Council meeting prior to item 8C and ask Christy Driscoll for a recommendation on possible action.
This is my long term. Approve Strickland Ball Fields Improvement Project to include infield turf, dugout extensions, and renovation to the restroom and concession areas. Approve total project expenditures in an amount not to exceed $1,835,745, which includes a 15% contingency. Approve associated budget amendments and approve entering into the Oklahoma Purchasing System TOPS cooperative contracts as set forth below, and authorizing the city manager to assign to approved contracts. This was also written by an attorney.
Councilors,
I move approval of the staff recommendation.
Second.
we have a motion and a second to approve the staff's recommendation. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, that item is approved.
Christy, really quick, could you let us know what the schedule is for?
Yes, thank you for adding that. The reason that we have moved so many different pieces of this so quickly is our timing is actually to come in and get all of this work done while the fields are not in tournament play in season for June, July, and be ready for Carolyn to host tournaments in August of this year.
No pressure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Carolyn, for all your work. Thank you, Barb.
Thank you for your confidence.
I'm excited to see them. I mean, I was playing on those same baseball fields 40 years ago, so it's about time they got a little improvement. Item 9, resolutions. 9A is Resolution CC-2026-5, a resolution of the City of Stillwater approving the submission of an Oklahoma opioid abatement grant application authorizing the use of the City of Stillwater direct opioid settlement funds to support the Payne County Drug Court Program, and authorizing the city manager to execute any related documents, coordinate with project partners, and carry out activities associated with the project.
So this resolution is to approve submission of a grant application for opioid abatement funds through the Attorney General's office. There is a new program at the Payne County Drug Court that's being proposed in connection with those funds. Staff is going to give you a presentation on what it entails.
I apologize, it's me again. I have more friends here with me this evening on this. Tonight we're discussing a proposal provided by Payne County Drug Court to the City of Stillwater to partner on an opioid abatement grant application. In attendance to provide their support to the application and to answer any questions that you may have in details that I can't, I would like to introduce Noel Bagwell, who is the Executive Director of Payne County Drug Court, Ronald Thrasher, Chairman, Board of Directors, and Dane Lemons, Clinical Director, and Chief Hassig from Stillwater Police Department. So as mentioned, we're here tonight to discuss program requirements for expenditure of funds related to a grant for opioid abatement and also our settlement dollars. Opioid abatement settlement dollars and dollars provided through the grant have the same goal. The details are shown on this slide. In short, it's to fund treatment and recovery programs, provide assistance to those struggling, provide education, and develop strategies to further reduce the opioid abuse, misuse, and related impacts. First, I'd like to take a minute to introduce Payne County Drug Court. They currently provide services for 75 active clients on a weekly basis and provide probation service supervision for an additional 400 people at any time. The current board of directors has over 87 years of collective experience. They offer structured court-supervised treatment in lieu of incarceration, and they have demonstrated improved participation outcomes for those who are working through their program. The partnership with Payne County Drug Court is an expansion of a current partnership we already have through their system in our Stillwater Police Department. What this allows to do is an expansion of the availability of the treatment. They provide a critical service to our community in providing structure, resources, and accountability needed for clients to reach success. The proposal contains the aspects shown here to further extend their reach and positive impact. When we talk about funding, there's two methods of funding that we're actually looking for in our partnership proposal tonight. This resolution centers around our application of an opioid abatement grant. That grant has us partner or select a 3-year program, and if received, $125,000 per year is available to grant recipients. We also have direct opioid settlement funds. Our current balance in these funds that we have received is $1,056,378. And over the next 14 years, you can see that we're expected to receive an additional 1.9. When we look at the cost of what the funding for the proposal as proposed is, it provides additional clinicians and counselors too, peer support recovery specialists, an additional staff member, client treatment supplies and programs, additional assessments, expanded individual counseling, and group counseling. The cost of the proposal that we're looking to partner with for Payne County Drug Court for the 3-year expansion program is 1.1, as shown on that bottom line. I'm going to put all those numbers together for you in one slide. So the proposal cost over 3 years is 1.175. The grant application, if funded, would be $375 total. And then if we receive the grant, what the city would be recommending would be to utilize our direct opioid settlement funds to supplement the additional needs to fully fund the 3-year program so that we can expand these services and the needs to our community for positive impact. I am happy to answer any questions or ask one of our resources to join me.
Counselors?
Yeah. So this is a 3-year grant.
Correct.
What are the plans after year number 3?
After year number 3, there could be additional grant applications, or we could discuss different funding options at that time. It would be entered into a new conversation in partnership with Payne County Drug Court.
How is the Payne County Drug Court funded generally now?
Funded through contracts with the Department of Mental Health.
This is Mr. Bagwell.
It's funded through contracts with the Department of Mental Health, the Department of Corrections. We have a United Way grant, and then we have commercial, what we call referral services or referral business that we serve the public with.
So how big would this expansion be for 2 additional? I mean, how many counselors do you have now?
We have 2 counselors now and 2 PRSS
So this would be
people.
a pretty big expansion.
Yes, it would.
That's
And
excellent.
we currently service those 75, and that's just an active number. We're actually at 98, and earlier last year, we've seen a number of 125, which was the biggest we ever had,
Wow.
and had to just shut down taking anybody for a while. So this would allow us not to do that again.
Yeah.
And
Further questions? Well, we truly appreciate the work that you all do at the Payne County Drug Court and assisting those individuals and assisting the whole community in, abating the opioid problem and dealing with folks who need treatment. We appreciate it.
It does, and it puts money back in the community
Yeah.
because when they leave there, they have a job, and several have started businesses here in Stillwater.
That's good to hear. Thank you. Counselors, action on the resolution.
Before we do that, I had a chance to visit drug court the other day as an observer, not as a participant. And it was very interesting. They had about 60 individuals stood before the judge to review their progress, and it wasn't just a legal formality. It was highly organized. It was a compassionate system. So their system was set up to provide accountability, which is drug testing and court appearances, counseling, and transformation, focusing on building up pro-social habits and healthy relationships. The coordination between the judge and the attorneys and the police was very amazing. It was my time well spent. A program I was not aware of until about a month ago.
Great. Appreciate that information. Counselors, further comments, questions, or action on the resolution?
Motion to adopt resolution number CC-2026-5.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Please vote. That resolution's adopted with a vote of 5-0. Hopefully we get the grant. Item 10 is ordinances. On first read, ordinance number 3594, an ordinance amending the Stillwater City Code, Chapter 23, Land Development Code, Article 6, Land Use Classifications, Division 4, Commercial District, Section 23-152, CB Commercial Business District, repealing all ordinances to the contrary and providing for severability. This is the item from earlier this evening. Action on the ordinance.
Motion to advance ordinance 3594.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to advance. Please vote. The vote of 5-0, that ordinance is advanced to second reading. On second reading, we have ordinance 3598, an ordinance rezoning attractive land located at 799 West 12th Avenue from small lot single-family residential and agricultural to commercial general.
I move adoption of ordinance 3598.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, ordinance 3598 is adopted. Item 11 is appointments. We have 2 folks on the Stillwater Housing Authority whose terms are up, but they are both willing to be reappointed to continue to serve the Stillwater Housing Authority. I would move that we reappoint both Roger Gose and Ruby Manning to 3-year terms on the Stillwater Housing Authority.
Second.
A motion and a second. Please vote. Vote of 5-0. Roger Gose and Ruby Manning are both reappointed to the Stillwater Housing Authority, and we appreciate their service on that board. Takes us to reports. Ms. Carnley.
Request for an executive session pursuant to 25 OS Section 307B4 for the purpose of confidential communications between the City Council and its attorney concerning all aspects of litigation and possible settlement agreement in Hosterman v. City of Stillwater et al., case number CIV-24-976-SLP. It is the opinion of the city attorney that disclosure of this matter will seriously impair the ability of the city to conduct litigation and/or proceeding in the public interest.
Thank you. Mr. Moore.
Yes, mark your calendars for our annual Household Hazardous Waste event on Saturday, April 25th from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Convenience Collection Center. This is an opportunity to dispose of all oil-based paints, pesticides, herbicides, mixed fuels, and other hazardous materials you have laying around the house, and that's at no cost to you. Our convenience collection center is located at 807 South Perkins Road, which it will also be open for usual business during this event. I will say that is the CCC, the Convenience Collection Center, is one of my favorite little assets that we have in our organization, our community. We offer to the community. I used it Saturday to get rid of some metal and stuff, throw it in the metal bin, some bulky trash items. They're just so easy to work with there, and it's such a convenient place to take your recyclables and other just yard waste and bulky trash. And so definitely visit the convenient collection center, and the household hazardous waste event is a really convenient way to get rid of some of those chemicals and other things.
I hadn't cleaned my garage out in a while. I took 20 gallons of used motor oil over there a couple weeks ago. It made me feel pretty good.
I'm proud of you.
Appreciate it.
It feels really good to throw things away.
Yeah, it does, especially 20 gallons of motor oil. Vice Mayor.
Yes. Construction on the new airport terminal continues, and completion is currently on schedule to meet a grand opening in August. If you have not been out there recently, I encourage you to check out the progress, including the relocated access road. Work will continue through July on the terminal's 4-lane drop-off area, connecting roadways, and the new airport road roundabout. As a reminder, terminal access is only available from the south via Lakeview for the time being. This is an exciting project, and we look forward to utilizing our new terminal and wider and safer roadways soon. For more project updates, go to stillwater.org. Stillwater, okay, that was a throwback. stillwaterok.gov/projects.
I do that every once in a while.
Every once in a while.
Councilor Hawkins.
This Saturday, March 28th, is Stillwater's annual Trash Off Community Cleanup Day. This is a great opportunity for volunteers of all ages to help beautify our shared community spaces. City staff will welcome participants starting at 9 a.m. at Couch Park and will provide gloves, safety vests, and trash bags. An award will be given to the group that collects the most trash. If you or your organization would like to participate, please RSVP by this Wednesday, March 25th at stillwaterok.gov/trash-off.
Excellent event. Thank you. Councilor Clark.
Related to a prior presentation, to receive city notifications about wildfire threats, floods, and other emergencies, sign up for alerts through Be Informed Stillwater. This notification system is used to inform residents of imminent threats to health, safety, and welfare of our community. Go to stillwaterok.gov/alerts to sign up. By creating an account, you can customize your preferences at any time. This includes choosing your mode of delivery, adding multiple phone numbers, and opting into non-emergency alerts and informational bulletins. Again, that is what the website is stillwaterok.gov/alerts.
I'm on that, and just like last week or 2 weeks ago, there was a severe thunderstorm coming through. I was not paying attention, and I got the text on my phone, and I got to figure out, oh, I guess I should be careful. There's a thunderstorm in the area. It's a great system. Councilor Harden.
The Watershed Quality Division is currently hosting its annual rain barrel event. It offers residents the chance to purchase rain barrels that conserve water and reduce stormwater runoff. The water that runs off your roof is collected in the rain barrels and can be used later for lawns, gardens, and making an easy way to support conservation efforts at home. Submit rain barrel orders online by April 26th. For more info, go to stillwaterok.gov/rainbarrel. And I will say, Councilor Clark, I always remind you that you have to be prepared for the rain barrels to overflow.
I wasn't going to say it this time, but thank you for doing it.
You're welcome.
I think we would all be perfectly happy to have some overflowing rain
Yes.
barrels around here. During the weekend of March 12th through the 14th, we welcomed hundreds of cyclists, thousands really, of cyclists, runners, and supporters to Stillwater for the annual Mid-South Gravel Endurance Festival. Thanks in large part to the tireless efforts of City of Stillwater employees, the event was a huge success. The folks over at Block 34, it was awesome. It was so cool to see that event there for the weekend. It's a perfect event for that space. We want to extend a special thanks also to the staff members in Parks and Community Resources, Waste Management, Public Works, SEMA, Fire, Police, who all helped create a self-welcoming and fun environment for our visitors. Also thanks, of course, to Bobby and Crystal Winnell and the folks over at District Bicycles for organizing that event. Also, if you didn't get a chance, the movie they put together from last year's wildfires, Together We Are Heavy, they played a couple times over the weekend. I'm hoping we're going to see more opportunities for that movie to be seen, because it's a really, really great documentary about that weekend last year, and really about the community's response to it, which was great. So appreciate all the work that they've done. All right, at this time I will move that we recess the Stillwater City Council again prior to item 14.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to recess. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the Stillwater City Council will now be in recess. And in the meantime, I will call to order the Stillwater Utilities Authority meeting for March 23rd, 2026. There are 4 items on the consent docket. Questions, comments, or action?
Motion to approve the consent docket?
Second.
With a motion and a second, please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the consent docket is approved. Down in general orders, we have a presentation, discussion, and possible action to approve a distribution pole replacement project, appropriate $2 million from the Rate Stabilization Fund, and approve the attached budget amendment. And Mr. Lauren Smith is here. It's been a while since we've seen you.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Good evening, trustees. Nice to see you again. The Stillwater electric system includes approximately 10,300 wooden distribution poles. For the last several years, staff has commissioned a contractor to test the integrity of the wooden poles throughout the system. After completion of testing, approximately 2,500 have been identified as needing replacement. Staff is estimating $2,500 to $3,500 per pole to replace based on what infrastructure the pole is supporting. Staff is proposing to create a project account to fund the materials necessary for the replacement of the poles over time. The poles will be changed out by distribution staff over multiple years. The funds appropriated as a part of this report will only cover a portion of the cost to replace all the poles. This will get us started, and then as time goes by, rather than encumbering a lot of funds, we'll come back to the trustees and seek additional approval. I have a motion here, but I'd pause to answer any questions.
Trustees.
I just want to I mentioned this a year ago when we had this same conversation, that I commend SEU for doing this. About a year ago, another community in our area had significant power outages because winds came through and knocked a bunch of poles down and broke them off. And the fact that you're being proactive to make sure that the poles are in good shape, I really appreciate.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Just out of curiosity, if we're assuming a cost of $2,500 a pole, it's about $6 million to do all of it, even at the low end. And so it seems like we're doing about a third of them. Is that reasonable to think that we can replace a third of the poles in a given year?
Not in a given year,
Okay.
over time.
Okay.
Yeah, we will replace these over time, like you said, $5 million to $8.75 million based
Right.
on what we got. But as time goes by, we'll put additional crews and try to do as many as we can.
So of the 2,500 that need replacing, I know this will be over several years, how many do we think we could replace in a year?
Right. I think about 150 with one crew, 300 with 2 crews. Just depends how many crews we can throw at one time. It is our one of our many tasks that we need to do. But now that we're aware of it, we, as part of the evaluation, poles were rated, and so we know where really the critical areas, what really needs it and what need it. So.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that was my question,
Is
is
it-
you're able to prioritize.
Able to prioritize very detailed evaluation of not only the pole integrity, but what's on the pole, is there tree limbs in the pole, is there something that needs to be, it was a very detailed report, so it gave us a lot of insight to the things we need to do.
Further questions? What's your recommendation for us,
Okay.
Lauren?
I have a motion to approve the distribution pole replacement project, appropriate $2 million from the Rate Stabilization Fund, and approve the attached budget amendment.
Thank you, Lauren. Trustees?
I move approval of the staff recommendation.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve. Please vote. It's approved with a vote of 5-0.
Thank you.
Thanks for keeping the lights on, Lauren. There's nothing further on this agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn SUA. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the Stillwater Utilities Authority is now adjourned. At this time, I will reconvene the Stillwater City Council prior to item 14 on the agenda. Is there a motion to enter executive session for the reason requested by the city attorney?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to enter executive session. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the Stillwater City Council will now be in executive session.
Okay. As long as it's not going to hurt me.
All right. Is there a motion to reconvene in regular session?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Oh, Teresa's here, so we can vote. With a vote of 5-0, the Stillwater City Council is now back in regular session. City Attorney Carnley, do you have a recommendation from executive session?
Yes, consider possible action to approve resolution number CC-2026-6, a resolution of the Stillwater City Council approving a settlement agreement in the United States District Court for the Western District of Oklahoma case, Hosterman v. City of Stillwater et al., case number CIV-24-976-SLP, authorizing the city attorney and the law firm of Collins, Zorn, and Wagner to prepare and file appropriate documents to effectuate settlement, including a journal entry of judgment, and further directing the attorneys to draft and file necessary documents, including an assignment as may be necessary to effectuate the settlement and to place said judgment on the sinking fund, and authorizing the mayor to sign the settlement agreement and any related documents for this purpose. Approval of this resolution will approve a settlement agreement in the case and payment of the city's portion of the settlement in the amount of $1,675,000. It will also direct and authorize the city attorney and the law firm of Collins, Zorn, and Wagner to prepare and file any necessary documents, including a journal entry of judgment and assignment, any other documents necessary to effectuate the settlement agreement and place the judgment on the sinking fund.
Thank you. Councilors, comments, questions, or action?
I move adoption of resolution CC 2026-6.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, resolution number CC-2026-6 is adopted. With no further action from executive session, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn the city council. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the Stillwater City Council is now adjourned, and that concludes our meetings for this evening.